Welcome to our channel, where we dive deep into the mysteries of our universe and explore the unimaginable. If you enjoy thought-provoking content that challenges your understanding of the world, please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Gap 1S now, let's embark on a fascinating journey into the heart of a cosmic scenario that will leave you in awe. Gap 1S. Imagine our Earth. It spins constantly. Imagine our Earth. It spins constantly. This spin gives us day and night. This rotation is a fundamental rhythm of our lives, a steady beat in the symphony of the cosmos. We never really feel this motion directly. It is too smooth, too consistent, too vast for our senses to register easily. Our planet is a giant spinning top, gracefully pirouetting in the endless expanse of space. This ceaseless turning has shaped everything we know and observe, from global weather patterns to the very evolution of life itself on this precious blue sphere we call home. Now picture the impossible, a scenario ripped from the wildest dreams of science fiction. What if this familiar spin suddenly stopped? Imagine the Earth halting its rotation for just one single minute. 60 seconds of absolute stillness for the solid globe beneath our feet. This is an idea that challenges our everyday experience. But let's explore it with scientific curiosity. What would happen to our world if its rotation abruptly ceased? The consequences would be unimaginably catastrophic. It would unleash forces unlike anything humanity has ever witnessed, or could even truly prepare for, initiating a cascade of global devastation. This is not about the Earth slowing down gently over eons. Think of it as an abrupt, instantaneous halt, a cosmic brake pedal slammed down with unimaginable force. The Earth is currently rotating at its equator at a speed of about 1,670 kilometers per hour. That is incredibly fast, a velocity exceeding that of most commercial airplanes cruising at high altitudes. Everything on the Earth's surface, including us, the oceans, and the atmosphere, not directly anchored to the planet's deep bedrock, carries this immense eastward momentum. Consider what happens when a very fast car suddenly slams on its brakes. Everything inside is thrown forward violently. This thought experiment takes us to the very edge of our understanding of physics and planetary science. It challenges our comprehension of Earth's complex, interconnected systems. We will delve into the immediate, devastating effects that would unfold. We will consider the profound changes to our global environment, the air we breathe, the water that sustains us. We will examine the terrifying impact on all forms of life, especially our own vulnerable species. This is a journey into a hypothetical disaster, a cataclysm of truly planetary proportions, triggered by a mere minute of profound, unnatural stillness. When the solid body of the Earth stops its rotation, things not rigidly fixed to it will continue moving. This fundamental principle is known as inertia. Everything on the planet, including the air around us, possesses momentum gained from the Earth's relentless spin. The atmosphere, for instance, is not a solid, unyielding shell. It is a vast, fluid ocean of air, swirling and flowing around the planet, carried along by the daily rotation. This envelope of air carries an incredible amount of kinetic energy, a hidden power unleashed by the sudden stop. So imagine the solid Earth beneath us grinds to a halt. The air, however, does not, and cannot, stop with it. It continues its eastward rush, maintaining its previous speed. At the equator, this wind would suddenly be moving at over 1,600 kilometers per hour, relative to the now stationary ground. These are not mere storm winds. These are winds far stronger, far more destructive than any hurricane or tornado ever recorded in human history. They would be like a giant planetary-scale sandblaster, or a colossal wave of air sweeping across the globe with unimaginable force. These super hurricanes, born of inertia, would scour the Earth's surface with brutal efficiency. Buildings, no matter how reinforced, would be ripped from their foundations and torn apart as if made of paper. Trees would be uprooted instantly, entire forests flattened in seconds. Topsoil, the precious layer that supports agriculture, would be stripped away from continents, leaving behind barren rock. The winds would carry incredible amounts of debris. Rocks, shattered structures, and everything else not bolted down. This debris would act like trillions of high-velocity projectiles, causing even more widespread destruction as it hurtled across the altered landscape. The friction generated by these winds moving at supersonic speeds across the stationary surface would be immense. This friction would convert kinetic energy into heat, causing the surface of the planet to heat up rapidly and dramatically. Fires would ignite spontaneously everywhere, fueled by the desiccated debris and the superheated air. The sky would quickly fill with dust, smoke, and vaporized materials. Daylight, for the side facing the sun, would turn into a terrifying stormy twilight, eerily lit by the glow of widespread conflagrations and the constant furious flash of lightning generated by the extreme atmospheric chaos. Just like the atmosphere, the Earth's vast oceans also possess enormous momentum from the planet's rotation. They are colossal bodies of water, spinning in unison with the Earth, their surfaces shaped by this motion. When the solid Earth suddenly stops, the water, obeying the law of inertia, keeps moving eastward at its previous speed. Imagine the sheer mind-boggling mass of the Pacific or Atlantic Oceans continuing to surge forward. This would create tsunamis of unimaginable scale and power, dwarfing any seismic tsunami we have ever known. These would not be localized events but truly global deluges. These global tsunamis would surge across continents with terrifying speed and relentless force. Coastal cities home to hundreds of millions of people would be instantly submerged, erased from existence in a matter of moments, but the water wouldn't simply stop at the old coastlines. It would continue to travel hundreds, perhaps even thousands of kilometers inland, depending on the topography. The sheer volume and velocity of the water would reshape coastlines dramatically and permanently. Even significant mountain ranges might only offer temporary resistance to these colossal waves of destruction. The water itself would carry immense destructive power far beyond simple flooding. It would erode landscapes with furious intensity, scouring bedrock clean and carving new channels. It would pick up everything in its path: the remnants of cities, vehicles, forests, billions of tons of sediment. This debris would become part of the rushing water, adding to its abrasive and destructive force, turning the tsunamis into something akin to liquid sandpaper on a planetary scale. The oceans, the cradle of life on Earth, would effectively try to cover much of the land surface in a turbulent churning mass. After the initial catastrophic surge eastward, the water would eventually slosh back and forth across ocean basins and inundated continents. This secondary motion would cause further chaos and destruction, albeit perhaps on a slightly lesser scale than the initial impact. The ocean basins themselves might be permanently altered by the scouring and deposition of vast quantities of sediment. The sheer force of the moving water could trigger massive underwater landslides and further earthquakes. The world's oceans, normally a source of stability and life, would become agents of immense, planet-wide devastation. The devastating combination of hypervelocity winds and planet-girding mega-tsunamis would fundamentally change the Earth's surface. The landscape that we are so familiar with would become almost unrecognizable in the span of that single terrible minute. Topsoil, the thin fertile layer crucial for agriculture and most terrestrial ecosystems, would be almost entirely stripped away from vast regions of the planet. This would leave behind barren rock or infertile subsoil in many places, creating global deserts. Entire ecosystems from rainforests to grasslands would be obliterated almost instantly. Mountains, which seem so permanent, might be significantly eroded by the sheer force of the winds and water. New valleys could be carved out by the rushing water and the abrasive debris it carried. The intense winds laden with particulate matter would also sculpt the land in bizarre and dramatic ways. Sand dunes the size of small mountains could form and sweep across entire regions, burying everything in their path. The very geography of our planet, the shapes of continents and the paths of rivers, would be rewritten in that single violent minute of stillness. The immense friction at the surface, caused by the atmosphere and oceans dragging across the stationary land, would generate stupendous amounts of heat. This, combined with the internal stresses induced by the sudden stop and the churning of the Earth's crust, could trigger widespread volcanic eruptions on an unprecedented scale. Earthquakes would also become terrifyingly common and powerful. The sudden halt in rotation would send profound shock waves through the planet's interior, potentially fracturing tectonic plates and releasing unimaginable seismic energy across the globe. The planet would become geologically hyperactive. Furthermore, the nature of day and night would be drastically and immediately altered. One entire hemisphere of Earth would face the sun directly for the entire 60 seconds of the stop. This side would experience intense, unfiltered solar heating, boiling away any remaining surface water and baking the land. The other hemisphere would be plunged into sudden, extended darkness and face the cold of space. This extreme temperature difference between the two sides of the planet would further fuel chaotic and violent weather systems once the Earth, hypothetically, resumed its spin, or if the stop was prolonged. Section 5. Humanity's Fragile Existence, a 60-second reckoning. For human beings, the immediate effects of the Earth stopping would be utterly devastating and almost universally lethal. Anyone on the surface of the planet, not deep underground in an exceptionally secure and anchored bunker, would be flung eastward at speeds up to 1,670 kilometers per hour. The force experienced would be immense, far beyond anything the human body can withstand. It would be comparable to being in a catastrophic car crash at supersonic speeds, but without the protection of a vehicle, a direct brutal impact with whatever lay to the east, or simply being torn apart by the forces. Buildings, even the most robust skyscrapers, would offer no meaningful protection. They would be instantly swept away by the supersonic winds or crushed and inundated by the colossal tsunamis. Cities, the centers of human civilization, would be reduced to unrecognizable rubble in mere moments. The intricate infrastructure that supports modern society, power grids, communication networks, water treatment plants, transportation systems, would be annihilated completely. There would be no electricity, no internet, no running water, no roads or railways left intact. Survival under such conditions would be nearly impossible for the vast majority of the human population. The few individuals who might, by some miracle, survive the initial 60 seconds, perhaps those located in deep mines or highly specialized hypothetical subterranean shelters, would emerge into an utterly hostile and alien world. The air would be unbreathable for a prolonged period, choked with dust, ash, and toxic gases. Water sources would be catastrophically contaminated. Food supplies would be obliterated or rendered inaccessible. Disease would spread rapidly. Society as we know it, with its complex structures, economies, and cultures, would cease to exist in that single minute. Governments would collapse instantly. Nations and borders would become meaningless concepts. The survivors, if any, would be scattered, isolated, and traumatized. The focus would shift entirely from complex societal structures and technological advancement to the most basic, primal elements of survival. In a world that has become actively deadly, the human species would be pushed to the very brink of extinction, its future hanging by the thinnest of threads. Section 6. The Aftermath. A world unrecognizable. After those 60 cataclysmic seconds of stillness, what if the Earth somehow resumed its normal rotation? The immediate violent chaos of inertia might begin to subside. The winds might slowly lessen from their peak ferocity, and the waters might begin to recede from their most extreme incursions. However, the world left behind would be forever changed, a pale and scarred shadow of its former self. The atmosphere would remain choked with colossal amounts of dust, ash, and aerosols lofted by the winds and eruptions. This dense veil would block sunlight, leading to a sudden and drastic global cooling and impact winter scenario. The oceans, once teeming with life, would be a murky, toxic soup of sediment, debris, and chemicals released from shattered industries and disturbed seabeds. Marine ecosystems, from coral reefs to the deep sea, would be devastated on a massive scale. The chemical balance of the oceans, critical for life, could be fundamentally altered for centuries. The new coastlines carved by the mega tsunamis would be dramatically different from those we know today. Many familiar landmasses and islands might be permanently underwater, while new barren lands might have emerged from the tortured crust. The Earth's magnetic field, our invisible shield against harmful solar and cosmic radiation, could also be significantly affected. This field is generated by the motion of the liquid iron in the planet's outer core, a process known as the geodynamo. A sudden stop of the planet's rotation, even for a minute, might severely disrupt this delicate dynamo mechanism. A weakened or erratic magnetic field would leave the surface far more exposed to dangerous radiation, posing another severe long-term threat to any surviving life forms and hindering any potential recovery. Rebuilding any semblance of civilization for any scattered survivors would be a monumental, perhaps impossible task. The accumulated knowledge and resources of humanity would be largely lost or destroyed. The environment itself would be profoundly hostile and unpredictable for generations. The psychological trauma inflicted upon any survivors would be immense and deeply scarring. It would likely be a return to a new, brutal dark age, with small groups struggling for basic existence on a wounded, grieving planet that no longer resembled home. Section 7. Shifting borders, drowned lands, a new world map. Let's consider the familiar map of our world, with its continents and oceans, its nations and borders. Political borders are essentially imaginary lines drawn upon the land. But what happens if that land is violently reshaped, scoured clean, or completely submerged beneath raging waters? The mega tsunamis, born from the ocean's inertia, would be the primary agent of this catastrophic cartographic redrawing. Coastal areas, where a significant percentage of the world's population currently resides and where many major cities are located, would be among the first and most comprehensively obliterated regions. Low-lying countries, such as the Netherlands, much of Bangladesh, and numerous island nations, would be completely and permanently underwater. The state of Florida would vanish beneath the waves. The vast Amazon basin, fed by the eastward rushing Atlantic, might transform into an enormous inland sea, fundamentally altering the South American continent. The waters, surging eastward, would inundate vast swaths of the eastern coasts of North and South America, the western coasts of Europe and Africa, and the eastern coastlines of Asia and Australia pushing far inland. Conversely, while the dominant effect would be inundation, some areas might see ocean waters recede, particularly on western-facing shores after the initial slosh. It's also conceivable that new land could be pushed up by the immense tectonic shifts and volcanic activity triggered by the stop. The sheer force of the water and the billions of tons of debris it carried could also create new, albeit unstable land formations like massive sediment banks. But overall, the story of the Earth's surface would be one of catastrophic loss of habitable land to the enraged oceans. The world's meticulously drawn political map would become instantly irrelevant. New, unfamiliar land masses and dramatically expanded water bodies would define the world for any survivors. Regions most severely affected would be the extensive coastal plains and areas along major river systems, which would act as enormous channels for the inland rushing deluge. For example, the eastern seaboard of the United States, the heavily populated river deltas of Asia, and the coastal regions of Europe would be catastrophically inundated and rendered unrecognizable. The very concept of nations might dissolve in the face of such utter global catastrophe. Section 8. Beyond the minute lingering scars and new realities. Even if our planet miraculously resumed its perfect spin after those harrowing 60 seconds of stillness, the deep scars inflicted upon it would remain for geological timescales. The global climate system would be thrown into extreme chaos for centuries, if not millennia, as it struggled to find a new equilibrium. The widespread loss of topsoil across continents would mean rampant desertification and an almost complete collapse of pre-existing agriculture. The colossal amounts of dust and aerosols injected into the atmosphere would take a very long time to settle, significantly affecting global temperatures, sunlight penetration, and weather patterns. Ecosystems worldwide would need to re-establish themselves from whatever scattered pockets of life managed to survive the initial cataclysm and the harsh aftermath. This would be an incredibly slow and arduous process, governed by the new, harsh environmental conditions. Evolution might take new, unexpected turns, favoring organisms uniquely adapted to the radically altered landscapes and atmosphere. The rich biodiversity of the planet, built up over billions of years, would be drastically and tragically reduced. Countless species, from the smallest microbes to the largest mammals, would be gone forever. The Earth's rotation itself, even if resumed, might not be perfectly stable in the immediate aftermath. The massive and violent redistribution of mass from the oceans surging over land and significant crustal displacements could potentially cause wobbles in the planet's spin or even slight changes in its axial tilt. Such alterations, however minor they might seem, would have profound long-term consequences for the patterns of seasons, the length of the day, and the stability of the newly forming climate systems, adding another layer of unpredictability to the recovering world. For any human survivors, the memory of the event, the great stillness or the moment the world broke, would be seared into their collective consciousness, passed down through generations as a defining myth or a terrifying historical account. The primary focus for these survivors would be on sheer resilience, adaptation, and the painstaking rediscovery of basic survival skills. The profound knowledge of the catastrophe, the minute the Earth stood still, would forever remind them of the immense power inherent in cosmic mechanics and the profound fragility of their planetary home. Gap 3S, Section 10, Humanity's Resilience and Innovation. In the aftermath of such a cataclysmic event, humanity's innate resilience and capacity for innovation would be the beacon of hope in a world drastically changed. Amidst the ruins of the old world, survivors would band together, forming new communities and societies. These groups would be bound not just by the necessity of survival, but by a shared determination to rebuild and adapt. The remnants of human knowledge and technology, though scattered and damaged, would serve as the foundation for a new era of discovery and invention. Ingenious solutions would emerge to tackle the myriad challenges posed by the altered environment. From new agricultural techniques designed to thrive in harsher climates to advanced engineering methods for constructing resilient shelters, human creativity would find ways to overcome the obstacles. Global collaboration would become more critical than ever. Borders and political divisions would blur in the face of a common goal, ensuring the survival and prosperity of the human race. The spirit of cooperation would lead to unprecedented sharing of resources, knowledge, and innovations. Humanity would learn to live in harmony with the new world, developing sustainable practices that respect the fragile balance of the transformed ecosystems. Moreover, this shared experience would foster a deeper understanding and appreciation of our place in the cosmos. The event would serve as a humbling reminder of our vulnerability and the importance of protecting our planetary home. It would ignite a renewed sense of stewardship for the Earth, encouraging efforts to mitigate future risks and safeguard the delicate equilibrium that sustains life. As generations passed, the story of the Great Stillness would evolve from a tale of survival into a legend of resilience and rebirth. It would be a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a source of inspiration for future generations to cherish and protect the wonders of our spinning haven. This hypothetical scenario, while highlighting the potential for devastation, also underscores the incredible capacity of humanity to adapt, innovate, and thrive. In the face of unimaginable odds, it is our resilience and ingenuity that would ultimately guide us towards a new dawn, illuminating the path forward in a world forever changed by a single extraordinary minute of stillness. Please subscribe. Section 9. Our Spinning Haven, Appreciating Cosmic Motion. This extreme thought experiment, while depicting a scenario of almost unimaginable terror and destruction, serves a crucial purpose. It vividly highlights how incredibly finely tuned our planet Earth is for life as we know it. Our planet's constant, steady rotation, a motion we rarely consciously acknowledge, is an extraordinary gift. This spin dictates ocean currents, shapes global weather patterns, creates the Coriolis effect, and most fundamentally, gives us the comforting, life-sustaining rhythm of day and night. We often take this intricate cosmic dance completely for granted, forgetting its vital role. The perceived stability of our planet, its predictable daily cycle, is not an absolute guarantee against all cosmic eventualities. While a sudden, complete stop of Earth's rotation is virtually impossible through any known natural astrophysical means, contemplating such an event forces us to appreciate the fundamental forces that govern our existence. The laws of physics, inertia, gravity, momentum, thermodynamics, are not merely abstract concepts confined to textbooks. They are the invisible architects and relentless enforcers that shape our reality every single second of every single day. Our world is an incredibly dynamic and complex system. It is constantly changing, evolving, and reshaping itself. But usually these changes occur on vast geological timescales, far too slow for a single human lifetime to perceive directly. This hypothetical minute of stillness compresses eons of potential change into an instant, dramatically underscoring our profound dependence on the Earth behaving in the predictable, relatively stable manner it has maintained throughout the entirety of human history, and for billions of years prior. It is this stability that has allowed complex life to arise and flourish. So the next time you witness the beauty of a sunrise painting the dawn sky, or the serene glow of a sunset marking the end of a day, take a moment to remember. Remember that this daily spectacle is a direct consequence of our planet's ceaseless, graceful motion through space. This spin, this rotation, is a fundamental aspect of what makes Earth a habitable world, a precious haven for life. We live on a spinning jewel, a delicate and vibrant oasis in the vast, often indifferent cosmos. Its quiet, constant turning is the silent, powerful guardian of all life on Earth.